Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. And I say good morning because right now it is 9:20 on a Saturday morning. So yeah. Okay. I'm doing the video a little bit earlier today because I got a lot of stuff to do later today on this Saturday. Today is October 23rd, and we're going to be going over the terms on October 25th. For Chapter 7, pages 196 to 203, talking about the Byzantine Empire. So we're going to be going over this purposefully. I'll hopefully be able to upload the next video Monday after classes, hopefully. We'll see. Maybe Sunday if I have some time tomorrow, but we'll see. Mainly Monday because I have to do it after my class usually. Thank you for liking and subscribing the videos and my channel. I appreciate it. For all the people who are actually in my history class, awesome. For people who are not in my history class, awesome to you too. Hopefully this helps you guys out for the future years. If you ever need help with HI 101. I love learning about history, so it's pretty fun. Anyways, we're probably just going to get right into this. No need for formalities. This is the third video so far, so I'm feeling pretty good. Starts with the end of the midterm, basically. So then we started the video. So it's pretty cool. Start the channel. Okay. So let's just get right into this then. We're going to be looking at the terms on this. And as always, I write the page numbers when they're found. It really helps later on when you're studying for the test, especially for the Unit 3 test, which is in a week. Yep, in a week, November 1st. It'll help for everyone. So next week I'll probably put on an in-person lecture either Friday or Saturday night or Thursday night, depending. For people who are interested in doing an in-person lecture, I'll be asking my class specifically though. Awesome. So Chapter 7, pages 196 to 203. Let's get into it. So the Byzantine Empire. So the first word you have to know is Justinian. So Justinian is a person. So in the 6th century, the empire in the east came under the control of one of its most remarkable rulers, the Emperor Justinian. As the nephew and heir of the previous emperor, Justinian has been well trained in imperial administration. He was determined to reestablish the Roman Empire in the entire Mediterranean world and began his attempt to reconquer the West. So, a couple things that Justinian did. He managed to reconquer the West. The Byzantine Empire is the eastern part of what used to be the Roman Empire. It kind of split up in the 4th century, but this is 527 to 565, so he's trying to reunite it. So he does reconquer Italy, a little bit of Spain, and all the way into Carthage in northern Africa. So he is able to conquer that. So that's very good for the Byzantine Empire. The next person you're going to have to know is Belisarius. So Belisarius, he's Justinian's general, the best general of the late Roman world. He sailed to North Africa and he defeated the Vandals in 2 major battles. From North Africa, he went into Italy, as I said. And then, yeah, so he conquered everything, basically. Justinian had been criticized for overextending his resources and bankrupting the empire. However, there was a big plague that happened during this time, so most likely that's what happened. Before he died, Justinian appeared to have achieved his goals. His goals were he had to restore the imperial Mediterranean world, and his empire included Italy, part of Spain, North Africa, Asia Minor, Palestine, and Syria. So, and there's a map on page 197 if you want to look at that. That will help. So yeah. So basically, Justinian, he reconquered the Western world for the Byzantine Empire, and then his general Belisarius, he helped conquer them because he was a general. So we're going to move on to page 198. We're going to talk about something called Corpus, Eures, Civilis. So, to accomplish his goal, Justinian authorized the Juris Tribonian to make a systematic compilation of imperial edicts. The result was the Code of Law, the first part of the Corpus Iuris Civilis. So the Corpus Iuris Civilis is the body of civil law. They added to it later on, but you have to know that it's basically the Code of Law, the body of civil law. So it was basically how they lived it. It was really big because Justinian, because he did this for the Roman law, became the basis of imperial law all the way into the Byzantine Empire. and then it was also, yeah, so it's really big. And then it was used in the West and became the basis of the legal system of all of continental Europe. So basically, this code of law that they made, the Corpus, Eures, Civilis, it became really important for the Byzantine Empire and then Europe overall later on, because this is basically what people considered the law. It was like the rules. It's kind of like how we have, the amendments and the Bill of Rights, all that stuff and everything, government. So that's very important. The next word you have to know is Theodora. Theodora is a person. So Theodora is actually Justinian's wife. So Theodora came from lower class. She followed in her mother's footsteps by becoming an actress. And at this time, actresses were almost guaranteed to be prostitutes back then. So yes, she was a prostitute. At the age of 25, she met Justinian, who was 40. And then his uncle, the Emperor Justin, so Justin was the guy before Justinian, had to change the law to allow a senator marry a woman who had been an actress. After his uncle died, Justinian became emperor and Theodora the empress. So basically, Justinian's uncle changed the rules so that Justinian could marry this actress named Theodora because he was in love with her, or in love with her, we don't really know. But then it was very important because Theodora was from the lower classes and it was very big. But the biggest thing is Theodora helped her husband a lot with matters, and specifically one riot. Theodora convinced Justinian not to flee, and that leads on to our next term, which is Nika, and we're on page 198, by the way. So the riots that happened soon became a revolt, as the rioters burned and looted the center of the city, shouting Nika. So Nika means win, a word normally used to cheer on their favorite chariot teams. So what happened is, in 532, two factions of charioteer supporters in Constantinople joined forces and rioted against the emperor. So chariot races were very popular back then. We'll learn about them a little bit later on in one of the terms. But so they shouted Nika, which means win, at the chariots when they were rooting for the favorite team. But then he was trying to conquer the emperor. But Theodora convinced him to stay instead of fleeing. And then many of the protesters were killed in the Nika revolt. The next word you have to know is Hagia Sophia. So, hold on. Justinian, he rebuilt the city and gave it the appearance it would keep for many years. He built a lot of stuff such as churches, palaces, roads, bridges, walls. He basically just helped it. Hospitals, schools. And his greatest achievement was the famous Hagia Sophia, the Church of the Holy Wisdom. So he was really big into churches, Constantinople, because this was Christianity was their main religion back then. So the Hagia Sophia, it was the Church of the Holy Wisdom. So it was completed in 537. It was designed by a Greek architect. So yeah, it was very big. It was an enormous dome which seemed to be floating in space. So it was like the first one of the first dome buildings. Like we have a bunch of dome buildings nowadays. For back then though, domes were huge because in the dome, if you think about it, there's nothing in the center connecting the dome. It just had to match up perfectly around the circle. But yeah, so it was very big. It was one of the best cathedrals and churches that they had. The three main buildings that they had is the Royal Palace Complex, which is where he lived, the Hagia Sophia, which is the church, and the Hippodrome. You don't have to know this, but just for your information, Trout will probably go over it. Whoever your history teacher will go over it. The Hippodrome was basically where they had the gladiator fights and the chariot races. So yeah, chariot races were really big. And then we flip over to page 200. And we're going to get into what happened after Justinian died. So Justinian dies. And then what ended up happening is Heraclius. So Heraclius, from 610 to 641, he was the one that became the emperor. So he had to face against the Persians to the east and the Slavs to the north. So there's a lot of fighting going on during this time. And then in this time, they developed a new form of defense by creating a new administrative unit, the theme, which combined civilian and military offices in the hand of the same person. Thus, the civil governor was also the military leader of the area. So, Heraclius and themes. Heraclius was the leader after this time, and then theme. What themes mean? A theme is combined civilian and military offices in the hands of the same person. So basically, they would have the civil army and the military army come together. So it was citizens and actual soldiers coming together in the area, and they were the ones that fought in defense. Let's see. The next thing you have to know is, as we know that during this time the Arabs are rising, the rise of Islam is happening. So what ends up happening is the rise of Islam, as I told you, they conquered into Asia Minor, and at this time it was for the Byzantine Empire, but this was very bad. But they tried to take over Constantinople actually, but luckily what the Byzantine Empire was able to do was it used the next term, which is called Greek fire, against the Arab fleets. Greek fire was a petroleum-based compound containing quicklime and sulfur. It would burn underwater. The Eastern Romans created the equivalent of modern flamethrowers by using tubes to blow Greek fire onto wooden ships. So basically, it was very powerful. It was a very powerful form of weaponry that they used, and that was really big. Greek fire. The next word you have to know is Iconoclasts. I'm just going over the terms as always. If you want to read the book, it's very suggested by me to read the book, but this is the terms you have to know. So if not, just know these terms. The next term you have to know is the Iconoclasts. So basically what ended up happening is the church was very big during this time. They believe in Christianity, so that was their main religion actually. But beginning in the 6th century, the use of religious images, especially in the form of icons or pictures of sacred figures, became so widespread that charges of idolatry, because people thought they were worshiping the images. The use of images or icons had been justified by the argument that icons were not worshipped, but were simply used to help illiterate people understand their religion. So icons were being used, so there's like pictures of, like, I'm guessing, like probably the apostles, pictures of the Virgin Mary, pictures of anyone that was prominent, so like what ended up happening is basically, like, if you compare it to the Catholic Church nowadays, like they have icons. Basically they have pictures, they have they like, you know, like they have pictures of the Virgin Mary, they have pictures of apostles, and what Catholics, they just they use it to pray to God, but pray through them, basically. So they're praying through the Virgin Mary to God because they believe that the Virgin Mary is very important, which she is. She's a very important person. Then this argument failed to stop the iconoclasts, as the opponents of icons were called. So the people that didn't like the icons were called iconoclasts. And then from that came iconoclasm. Basically, it was just like people who did not like the art to be representing. So iconoclasts were the people that were against using icons, basically. It ended up being a big issue, and it ended up actually separating later on in the 1000 AD timeline, was the difference between Roman Catholicism and Greek Orthodoxy. Greek Orthodoxy became the Christian church as we know it, but then Roman Catholicism, as we know, became Catholicism, you know, what Catholics believe. This is where the big divide happens, and people have a really like not known view about what Catholicism is. Like, people think that Catholicism is like super bad for some reason. Like, I even know Christians nowadays that think people who are Catholic aren't, like, you know, saved or anything, but Catholics are Christian too. Like, they believe most of the stuff that we believe in. They have different views on certain things when it comes to the afterlife, like purgatory. They believe in purgatory. They believe in a couple other things that are different. Like, for instance, they have the Virgin Mary, very honored, the apostles, saints specifically. And obviously they have the Pope and everything, and they have bishops, and they have confession. And meanwhile, Christians nowadays, like, we pray directly to God. We pray, we don't have a confession booth per se. We just confess to Christ in our, like, mind, in our room, in our whatever you have. But yeah, Christianity and Catholicism, they're still Christian, you know, I like in the broad sense, like they still believe in God, and like that's all that matters. So then we get into the last part, which is the 10th term on the list, which is trade. So under the 12th century, Constantinople was Europe's greatest commercial center. So because Constantinople was like in between the Eastern world and the Western world, in between the Mediterranean on the west and then the Arabs and the Asians on the east, specifically China, it became like basically the town that you had to cross to trade in between the west and the east. The best thing that they wanted, Europe and the Byzantine Empire wanted silk. They wanted silk, they wanted jewelry, they wanted ivory. This all came from China, Southeast Asia, and India. They also wanted spices. So, and then also they wanted wheat and furs from southern Russia. So they wanted stuff from Asia, basically. So many of the eastern goods were shipped from Constantinople to the Mediterranean and northern Europe. So Constantinople became very good for trade, the European trade. And then they also imported raw materials, were used in Constantinople for local industries. Industry was very big during this time. Silkworms were smuggled in from China because Chinese didn't like their silkworms being stolen, but a couple of silkworms got stolen. They ended up going to the West. European demanded silk cloth. They really loved silk, which makes sense. It's very soft. So, yeah. So those are the 10 terms you have to know. Just kind of went over the book a little bit briefly, too. So yeah, it's pages 196 to 203. But I guess I'm gonna go over the terms one more time, just in a brief summary. See if I know what I learned. See if I can do it without looking at the book. We'll see though. I'm not entirely sure. But so Justinian became the emperor during the Byzantine Empire. He conquered a lot of the Mediterranean world for the Byzantine Empire once they split up between West and East. Belisarius was the general during this time, so the two terms so far, Justinian and Belisarius. Then Corpus, Eures, Civilis became like the code of law, basically, became law for years and years and years onward for the Europeans and the Byzantine Empire. Theodora was Justinian's wife. She also aided him a lot. She was from lower class and she was a prostitute. But Justinian loved her and she became his wife and therefore the empress later on. And Theodora helped him in the Nika revolt, which Nika is the term next. Nika means win. People basically were upset about the empire because of the chariot races and they yelled Nika, which they usually did in the Hippodrome, which is the version of the Colosseum, basically. It's where the gladiator fights and the chariot races happened. But Nika means win. It also was like the Nika Revolt. The Hagia Sophia. So the Hagia Sophia was specifically the church that he had built, which was really big. It had the dome. It was very big. It was in Constantinople, so it was huge. Very important for the church to spread. Heraclius was the emperor directly after Justinian, and he had to defend against the Persians. And they used how they did this is they used themes. So themes was the combination of civil military and like the actual military. So like the civil army and the military army. So basically they would join citizens with military to defend in the areas of attack. Specifically, the rise of Islam brought fighters into the Byzantine Empire. They had conquered Asia Minor. But the reason why they didn't conquer Constantinople is because of Greek fire. Greek fire was a weapon used by the Byzantine Empire for lighting up the ships of the Arabs. So it was also waterproof. It could like go through water and stuff. So they would like throw it on their ships and the Greek fire would explode and burn their wooden ships. The Iconoclasts, so icons became really big during this between the different views of beliefs for Christianity. So icons being used as idolatry or worship, and then the people that were against that. So people who didn't want icons were iconoclasts. So you would think that the people who liked icons were iconoclasts, but no. The people that did not want icons in the church were iconoclasts. That's what the name of those people were called. And then trade. Trade became really big because the Eastern world and the Western world were being connected by the Byzantine Empire, being connected by Constantinople. And it was the largest city by population in Europe during the Dark Ages during this time, or the Middle Ages. I don't know. It was just the largest during this time. So yeah, and then that was huge for them because That's what happened. I mean, the trade was so important between the West and East. Silk was the main thing that they wanted, though, from China. So, yeah, so that's basically the video. A little bit shorter than the last one. It's a little bit easier to go over stuff I know. I don't know too much about Islam and Muslims, so that's why the last one was kind of hard for me. But I think we did a pretty good job on this one, honestly. Overall, good video. And as always, like and subscribe, baby. You know how it is. But yeah, anyways, it is Saturday. It is the weekend. I'm going to try and have some type of fun today. My mom is coming, actually, today. So my mom is going to be in the area all of next week. So very excited about that. Haven't seen my mom in a little bit less than 2 months. So I'm really looking forward to seeing my mom. She's great. But yeah, so I'm going to be spending some time with her. I'm actually gone this weekend. So if you try and reach me, you can reach me through the YouTube channel. Better luck texting me through Instagram, adding me, following me, whatever it is. Grant Wood 2003. It should be a picture of me in a blue sweatshirt upside down picture. I don't know why it's upside down. I need to change it for college. I don't know. But yeah. So yeah. Anyways, thank you HI101 people who enjoyed this video, and like and subscribe to the video, comment, whatever you want to do. And let's hope we get those subscribers up. Last time I checked, I had 22, and that was yesterday, so that was Friday. Let's hope to get to 30 maybe by next week. We'll see. I don't really know. I'm just trying to build up this channel and help you guys out. That's the reason why I do this. That's the reason why I'm up right now doing this instead of doing my laundry, which I'm about to go do. Anyways, I'm going to upload this soon, so have a good rest of your day, guys. Have a good weekend, and yeah. I'll keep you updated about the videos, and I'll keep you updated about the in-person lecture that I will be having. The in-person lecture will probably be about 1.5 hours to 2 hours sometime next week to go over the stuff for Unit 3. So, yeah. Have a good rest of your day, y'all. Like and subscribe.